For the next categories, we are moving into Style Corner. We are first looking at Best Looking Game. Previous winners in this category: The Order, 1886, 2015.
Still funny. Still funny.
Every year I laugh.
Hey,
2016.
good looking game.
Yeah.
Do you know what? One of these years, I'm actually going to go play that fucking game.
Well, it
No,
won't
you're
take
not.
it. The
Don't,
only thing,
it
the only,
sucks.
the
No,
only
you're
thing
not.
is, like, it costs about $5 now, and it actually doesn't take that long. Like, the campaign is only
Yeah,
like 6 hours long.
I've never played it. I might just for a laugh.
It's super
see how
boring,
that
but it
is.
looks great.
Yeah.
I think the best thing about that game was that, like, if you got it at launch, you got like a theme for your PS4, and the theme is much better than the game. It actually looks pretty badass.
Excellent.
Because it's like a kind of like a parchment looking version of the only cool fight sequence in that game, which is on top of a blimp. So yeah, it's a pretty cool looking theme. I had it as my theme for ages on PS4. Anyway, in 2016, joint winners Overwatch and Hyper Light Drifter. I can only imagine that Overwatch was the fault of me and Barry.
Yeah, I mean,
Sounds
Hyper Light
like-
Drifter should have won that shit.
No.
right.
Overwatch is a great looking game. Come on.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it
starting
is.
to
But better
swear.
than Hyper
Come
Light
on.
Drifter.
It is. Hyper Light Drifter. Hyper.
Hyper Shite Drifter.
I was going to say Hyper
Okay.
Shot. Yeah, it's right
I
there.
froze.
2017 Cuphead, no arguments there. 2018 Dragon Ball FighterZ. 2019 Sayonara Wild Hearts. 2020 Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
Great winners.
This year's nominees: Death's Door, Forza Horizon 5, Genesis Noir, Guardians of the Galaxy, Hitman 3, It Takes Two, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Resident Evil Village, Returnal, and The Artful Escape. And up first in this category, it's Mark Robinson.
I don't know if this is going to be contentious, but we'll see. I think that Death's Door has a very clean art style to it, and I love the character designs and their animations. But I don't think the world is particularly like intricately designed. I don't think there's like any kind of great detail. I like the environments, but at no point was I kind of wowed by this game visually in a way that quite a few other games in this category did for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I loved it. I nominated it, but I agree. I don't think
I nominated it as well.
Incredibly tough category.
Yeah, deserves a mention for sure.
Yeah, it's got that weird like almost diorama quality. Like it's like little figurines. That's not what it is, but it's kind of what it looks like. They're like really clean, and it sounds like an insult, but like not very detailed, but like not in a bad way.
It kind of did the Link's Awakening remake better than the Link's Awakening remake.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's me next. Again, it's an incredibly tough category. Fuck it. I'm really sorry about this because I know exactly who this is a dagger to the heart of. Hitman 3. Like it looks great. Like I'm not gonna dispute that, but like it's just for me, there's a lot of these that are really either doing something unique or really like blowing me away, as this is clearly a new generation level of resolution. Whereas like for me, Hitman 3, as good as some of it looks, it's kind of just like a slightly better version of Hitman 2 in terms of
I will say
I'd say it's way better though. Like I agree with cutting it because I look at the other things in here, but it is way better.
Yeah, and do you know what's funny is that I actually think that some of the best elements of its visual design don't become terribly apparent until you start playing the Seven Deadly Sins DLC, because it does some interesting visual things there that the main game wasn't doing. Like in terms of the way it just presents itself, and but still, I don't think it troubles the top 5, let alone 3.
But I mean, like I was playing the Series S version because I still didn't have a PS5 at the time. But like there are sections when you're kind of outside in Dubai. And you kind of just see, just that the world around you basically, and some of the sections like in the Berlin with the nightclub, and there are moments where that game does wow me genuinely.
When you first walk through the curtain and you hear that guy say "Welcome to the Burj Khalifa," or whatever he says, and you just get this like massive expanse of glass and gold and like a party that you're in. It's just genuinely like you can see in that very opening section there, after you kind of like, landed on the side of the building and all of that and gone along the like weird girders inside, and then you get to that point, you're like, oh, these motherfuckers are making a James Bond game next, and that is gonna rock. Like they've got that instant, like, like it's almost like the bit where you're landing and stuff, that's the title sequence, and then you walk through the curtain and it's like moment one of a James Bond movie.
You know what's funny is that like maybe the thing about it and the way it's built that is most impressive to me is less the look of it and more the performance of it, that there are so many spinning plates mechanically to that game that I am bowled over that it worked when I started playing it on PS4 and that it works even smoother when I moved to PS5 to finish that bad boy off. And again, like I said, I platinumed it. I played that fucking thing inside out and it does look great. And again, maybe in a different year it finishes higher, but you look at the competition, it's stiff this year.
I still don't think it would. Like, it's just the things that wow me about.
I still think it's a piece of shit.
No. I
fucking
just,
Mark.
It still looks very much like a video game. Like there are games on here that look more than just a video game. They do some incredible things.
One in particular.
And the thing that always impresses me about Hitman, and more so with Hitman 3, is it's more just the direction, like the gaming direction, and how they bring all these little set pieces together, but it's done so organically, and a lot of that will obviously be for Game of the Year more than anything. Yeah. But I really think that as visually sumptuous as this game is at points, it still just looks like a really good video game more than
Chongqing fucking rocks, by the way. Like the outside rainy sort of neon Chinese streets, and then you go into like a hyper insane data warehouse where there's like futuristic doors and like little things that you can unlock.
I was going to say,
I'm really looking forward to, like, I've given myself a nice long break from that game, and all those 7 Deadly Sins missions have piled up now.
Yeah, same. I haven't played the last couple.
They're all back in, like, re-exploring the old maps in different ways, and we're going to get our, is it like in the next few months we're getting our 2 DLC maps, is it?
Yeah.
For this one. So
next year. And also the elusive target gallery, which I'm so excited about, because again, that changes the direction and the flow of how the maps work. It's something they did so well in Hitman 1. Sorry, Dave. Yeah. Like, when they took Sapienza and they're like, right, this section is a movie set now we're playing it at night and stuff. They can take these like massive things that they create and completely twist up all of the direction of everything they've got going on, and it makes it a new experience in the same location, yet it still feels new. It's so smart.
And the final, I suppose, shout out to how this game looks is, your ability to import your Hitman 1 and 2 into it, and you just have like an insanely polished version of those 2 games on PS5 now. So that is great. Even in spite of, like, again, in another less crime-ridden year, we might have had a like 10th out of 10 entry in Konami Corner for just how fucked the first few days of that importing to PS5 process was.
It was one day and it was a nightmare.
Oh, mate, it started getting better, but I was still a week later trying to get mine sorted.
Mine was one day. Maybe it's because I kept trying every hour.
Well, I think like you're the definition of a VIP Hitman client.
I was going to say the shine on Helmut Kruger's head in Paris is very satisfying on PS5.
I wanted to try and make a subtle dig at Cyberpunk 2077 about Chongqing being like the best Cyberpunk-esque style looking game this year. But then I remembered The Ascent did come out, and that actually was the best looking Cyberpunk game this year, and probably could have got a shout out on this category. But at the same time, that game also chugs like fucking hell at points. So there's my Ascent rant for the moment.
Next up, Barry.
It Takes Two. I think it's a nice looking game. I don't think it hangs with the heavy hitters here.
It's very charming.
I do like the squirrels.
Yeah, the military squirrels.
Squirrels with their little military jackets and everything.
By the way,
should
have been nominated for best character 10 times over before Dr. fucking Hakim.
Because like not only that's great because not only is it like a war parody, but of course all war is bad. So you end up fighting the squirrels as well. It's great. How did, by the way, God, I could have written in 5 extra categories for moments of the year as I'm going through this and realizing. So you guys didn't see it. Did you see the culmination of the squirrel section?
We stopped stops playing soon after the start.
So you're escaping on a plane with like the husband's underwear as the wings, and so you as the husband are flying, and the wife has to get out, and they do like a Street Fighter 2 fucking parody segment where the leader of the squirrels has fireballs and fucking dragon punches, and the wife has to face him in a beat 'em up segment. It's with health bars and everything. It's fucking so great. Anyway,
can I say just as well, just one more brogue to stick in on Dr. Hakim is such a bad book that it made me wish I was illiterate.
You've got your digs in. It's been cut from every category.
I just hate him. I hate him so much.
And it's a nice looking texture on the outside of it. But no, I like Shrunk Down World is always a cool aesthetic to do, and they did a very good one.
Yeah.
Some very clever character design with the bosses and the living tool boxes and all the other stuff that you're talking to and fighting. Really, really nice stuff, but I don't think it hangs.
Yeah, wouldn't piss on that book if it was on fire. Anyway, Jack, you're next.
Jeff Keighley's furious at you right now. That's his game of the year, son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell you what. Even after we've only cut 3, this already feels.
I was just thinking this. I was looking at what was left, and I was like, I genuinely don't know what I would pick next.
No, like even the games that I haven't played, I've looked at and I've watched, and I'm absolutely blown away by, say, Genesis Noir. And Returnal's just like the style of that game is insane. Holy shit. Because
the problem here as well is you've got a bunch of different games that look really good, but for really different reasons.
Yeah,
it's just like you can try and cut one, but it's like, well, all right, it does something that the other games don't do.
Yeah,
you know?
Like despite how good the opening section looks and how much we've all talked about it, I'm cutting Ratchet and Clank.
That's the one I was going to go for.
It makes the most sense.
It's as good as that first section looks. It almost feels like I was being sold a false bill of goods with how like it firmly parks in the middle of the road right after that.
Yeah. And then towards go on, sorry, go on, Mark.
No, I was always going to say is the thing that impresses me the most about that game, and it impresses me most about the 2016 remake as well, is that it doesn't matter how many nuts and bolts are on that screen, how many individual nuts and bolts appear, the game does not slow down at all. Like, it's insane how much can be on that screen, and it doesn't impact it.
In terms of how it looks, like the deflation of going from that like parade, that celebration at the start, to then you go to the first planet and it's just a level.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like that is maybe the most deflated I felt playing a game this year. And there's
some really great levels, like some of the stuff, some of the areas where you're in space and like the one planet that's kind of broken up and you go like between worlds and the way that they do that. Like there's a lot of really kind of good art direction. But it is, I think it is just a case of between what we were shown in the kind of build up to the game coming out and, you know, everything about like, the way the solid state driver is going to work and how, you know, it's going to have these instantaneous loading times. You ain't gonna have to worry about that. And there's so much more we can do. And it's like, there is elements of that. And I guess this is more just about the game itself, but it's like, it still just feels like another Ratchet and Clank game, but it doesn't feel like a PS5 Ratchet and Clank game, other than, you know, certain parts being basically that opening section. Yeah.
Right. It's Mark next.
Fuck. Right. Okay. On the basis, now it could be that I have played both of them on the Series S. You know, maybe like the Series X version has like this extra level of oomph. I'm like, fuck me. Blah, blah. Maybe it could be, and I spoke about this at the time when I was talking about it on the podcast, but like Forza 4 and Forza 5, for me, I can't see enough of a distinction. Like, again, if I played just for, I don't know.
I'm with him.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Maybe it's that I was like, I'm playing it on S as well. Like, maybe it's that it's on like 4K TV for me.
I played both of them on a 4K TV.
It looks insane.
Man,
it does look insane, but
like next level even compared to 4 for me.
Like, I'm actually shocked to hear you say that.
I mentioned it in my blog post about how like there's a bit early on where you're going through a storm and there's like I can see individual drops of rain streaking down the sides of the car as I'm going around, and like the whole thing is just breathtaking for me. Like, again, it's, if this was a visual fidelity only category, it wins by a mile probably.
Yeah.
But is it my number one? Not necessarily. I would really like to see it stick on a bit longer, but like, look, if I'm outvoted, then
maybe for me as well is like, yes, Gran Turismo is a nice looking game, but I also just don't really give a shit. It's shiny looking cars. Like, I'm not a car person, you, Dave. My car, well, I don't have a car, but it's like my car is red. That's as much as I know,
Yeah. But like, I'm still, and that's why Horizon works so well for me, is that like, it's not about the, like, you get a big car collection, but it's not about knowing a lot about cars. And like, sometimes I just go into that game for half an hour and I just pick a car and I'm not even necessarily doing any activities. I'm just cruising around that world. Like, it's just, oh my God, it's just so good to look at.
I will say on your point there that if this was fidelity, it would probably win. Probably winning outright. Yeah. But the thing, so the interesting thing is that it's not. And I will say, if I could just fucking knock this game just for a little bit. I feel like the general aesthetics of like the festival and stuff are all horribly ugly and grating. I think the UI stinks. I hate all the menus. I fucking hate the map.
Do you know what? Actually, let's just stick.
I don't have a problem with. I will give you the menus are really could do with a rethink.
Yeah. It's so fucking cluttered. Like, it's obviously using that Windows 11 square
boxes
shit. And it's so messy. Like, I don't know what half the fucking menu options are, and they all don't need to be there. Like, they so be condensed down.
It didn't so much bother me before, but this one in particular, where I'm just like, when you get the tickets for the spin the wheel thing, I can't think of the name of it offhand, and you're just like, oh, I have tickets for that, right? I'll go into my menu, and then you're spending like
where is
2
this?
minutes. Where in the name of God?
Like, the only time,
this is a nitpick, but I do think it's a factor in how it looks.
The only time I'll do half of that stuff is when I get the auto prompt that appears, like, press X to go to that. And it's like, oh, right, how the fuck did I end up with 25 of these? Oh, yeah, because I don't know where to find it when I look for it.
Yeah. And in terms of like the festival stuff being garish and stuff like that, like, I get what you mean. That said, at the same time, like, as a game about car culture, which is inherently garish and gaudy and stuff like that, I think it probably is fairly authentic.
Yeah, it's accurate for sure.
Because the people that you kind of like help out in the game are just absolute gobshites, aren't they?
Yeah, if this was even though this game looks good and has a good soundtrack, if this was a general style category, it'd be out, I would say, based on how great some of the stuff is.
Like, to me, going in about the garishness of it is like if we were here in 2004 and Barry was just like, look, this Need for Speed Underground is great, but I'm not sure about all this neon. Do you know what I mean?
Old man Barry.
Look, I'm clearly outvoted on this. I definitely think like it's just an absolute
looks incredible
powerhouse in terms of how it looks. Like, I would be frightened to think of what it would do to my retinas if I had a Series X instead of an S. Like, it's that good looking on the S on my TV.
And I do think it's also a case of embarrassment of riches, because I did completely agree with what Mark said. I mean, Dave, you said it was like, you thought it was like breathtaking. Honestly, when I booted up 4 when I first got my S, I was doing the Millhouse gif. I was sitting back in my chair getting blown away, and it sounds so shitty about a game that does look phenomenal. But when I booted up 5, I was like, oh, cool, more Forza, let's go.
We are the worst. We are awful.
We are the worst. We are terrible. I'm a spoiled little shit. I know.
And I think maybe part of that comes down to the fact that I think maybe 4 was more of a surprise package because it was a 3-year-old game or a 2-year-old game that they managed to make look that good, whereas Forza Horizon 5 is incredible, but because of the power of these new systems, it hits par in terms of your expectations.
Yeah, which is mad because it is insane. Like you say, fidelity wise,
outrageous,
it's mental. And to me, it should be top 3. But we don't rank these. Well, these are just winners, so I'd say we can cut it.
Yeah.
I think if 2 people feel strongly enough against it, then it's got to go. It's not going to survive.
Okay, I'm next. Sorry, Barry. Returnal.
Oh, you can't cut Returnal. You can't cut Returnal.
Even I've mostly seen that game in just screen grabs and like 1920 by 180 pics. And even just through that game looks unfucking believable.
It's and it looks mental. There's two things going for it. Going back to the Forza topic, I think fidelity wise, it's stunning. Art design, god damn, big, ugly, disgusting black monolith stones around you at all times. Obvious Giger inspiration, and that classic thing. Or I was about to say classic. It's underused these days. The world feels gross and actually alien and hostile to you. Just how it looks and feels. Well, it has to stay, I think.
Okay, well, what about we go? This might be unpopular as well, but hey, like we can't spare each other's feelings in this tough category. Guardians.
Yeah, I was gonna go Guardians next.
Guardians is bright and it's colorful and it feels comic booky, and some of the art direction is great and some of the set pieces are great. But there is still some issues visually with it. I still think the character models look a little bit off in the way that Avengers game did as well. Like,
I think only Peter is the only one that kind of looks off to me. I think the other ones look fine, but I think he's just a bit too meat-headed for my taste. I don't know about what you think.
One issue I had is that game it's got, like, on the one hand, it has really tremendous animations, and I love when you do like a tag team uppercut move and everyone's all syncing up and you're hitting moves at the same time. And then at the flip side, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, it bugged me literally every time until I hit credits in that game. When you highlight an environmental throwable object for Drax and you press triangle for him to go get it, his character model just disappears from where it is and reappears right next to it. And I'm like, can you put some phony baloney teleporter excuse in the game and a little shine animation on it? Why does he just disappear and reappear? It looks like shit. It looks like shit, and you do it 50 times during the game.
Yeah, it's one of those inherent issues. Like when you have a game where you've got so much AI like that you have to work with, like there are just going to be times where you know, like it's fine if you've got like a kind of top-down isometric like stealth game and you know your enemies are on a fixed path,
right?
Like the path finding that you have for that and the waypoints is there's not really much you can do to fuck it up. When you're dealing with a game of this size and scale and there's so much geometry and you've got these four characters that, you know, are just trying to like kind of follow along with you and whatever, there are just, it would be impossible to make that game 100% seamless to avoid that. So I can kind of let it go for it.
Of course.
But at the same time, it is a little bit kind of game breaking, not game breaking, but just like it takes you out for the moment. You're like, well, that obviously didn't look right. So but I agree, it is kind of rough. My issue, I think that any game will just automatically be disqualified if I have to slide down anything that is clearly just a loading sequence or I have to go between two tight corridors. I'm sick of it. I know what it is, but it's so forced every single time that it happens now. You know?
Right. Barry, you're next.
Okay. I'm going to cut one that I think we all love, but as we're at real neck cutting time here, it's have to make the tough decisions. Village.
Oh,
it looks great. It has fidelity. It has art direction. It has performance, which it's caught. I don't want to piss on Guardians' graves, but that game's chuggy as fuck on the PS5. Just another thing to cut it. Village, buttery smooth, great performance, looks great. It's one of those things I don't have a knock again. I can't sit here and say I'm cutting it because the mansion looks like shit and blah blah blah. I'm not, it's literally just a case of I like the other ones better. This
is like my number one or two, I think.
Yeah, I kind of put it like two
because one of the things that I think is underappreciated in terms of how a game looks and how the art direction works is something that Resident Evil Village does so well, is like every single part of it feels like it matches the whole theme of the game, but also feels like it looks completely different. I really love that. So like, and I don't mean just in the character models. Like I think each one of the antagonists has their own different vibe, and that's really cool. They don't just feel like variations, but also like you just look at the strongholds and like Castle Dimitrescu is this arch gothic castle that feels at once like an expansion of what Resident Evil has always been, but also feels like such classic Resident Evil in as much as like there's weird puzzle shit with statues, and there's of course there's catacombs underneath it and shit like that. That's just fucking awesome. You go to House Beneviento, we talked about that, and that's your like it just immediately the environments are designed to look creaky and claustrophobic and gross. Speaking of gross, you go over to where Moreau is, and everything is just like it's got this creepy, gross, but also like weirdly Lovecraftian feel to it.
It's the foamy, gooey stuff that, like, the first time you meet Moreau and he tries to trap you with all that weird goo.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like you feel like even though you're seeing it on the screen, it's like I can smell that. Like it's so disgusting, the art.
And then you go to Heisenberg, and Heisenberg is just this kind of like there's this industrial quality to it, but there's also like almost like David Cronenberg body horror shit going on, and that is something that like they hit on the body horror stuff a few times throughout the game, like all the shit happening to your fucking hand for one.
The fan guy, I actually just as I'm sitting here remembering, like
fan guy.
If you a key factor for best looking game for me, I think character design has to count. And fucking
oh my god,
game,
and like you know, everything is so meticulously well designed, and everything feels different. And then like we talked about it in one of the other categories, the bit where like when Ethan dies and you hand over to Chris, the game just feels like it's a completely different genre. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's like a Rainbow Six game.
You're moving differently, you're loaded out differently, obviously, like you look different. Something as simple as the night vision like changes the fucking whole thing, the whole dynamic of it. And like we haven't even touched on the actual village itself and how great like the falling apart dilapidated houses look, or how great and gross all the lichens look and shit like that, and
creepy graveyard.
Also, how fucking awesome and climactic the Mother Miranda fight feels.
It's great.
And, like, her character is fucking gnarly as fuck and feels like a thing. You're going to be seeing people dressed as Mother Miranda at Comic Cons and E3s for fucking years.
And I will run away from them all.
Such a fucking badass design and shit like that. Like, for me, this is maybe like, you know, there are games that have that kind of style, but in terms of like an overall package of what you like that hits every element of what you could conceivably describe as a best looking game of the year, it is ticking every single box and scoring extremely high in all of them. Again, just to hit on the thing Barry has been hitting on repeatedly with other games in this category, it performs fucking brilliantly.
It does.
You know what I mean? This is just an outrageous looking game in every way that can be interpreted. So I think like
sounds like
for
it
me,
stays.
for me, not only does it stay, I think it wins. But again, I could be quite easily outvoted on that. The people could think I'm a fucking charlatan of the highest order. If we,
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the people will be with you on any Resident Evil take you have. I think the people will be with you.
I think people. I think maybe because there's a part of our brains that think it's a Resident Evil game. How could you vote for that as best looking of the year? But like it is, and like all the fucking kills are gnarly, and like all the fucking gore is gnarly as fuck, and like. Again, we mentioned it again, all the awful shit that happens to your hand, like the serious stuff is like, oh, the bit with the fucking hooks, my God, had me squirming. And I don't usually squirm at that sort of stuff. And then the bits where it's trying to be dumb, it looks great as well. Like you talked about Barry earlier on, the bit where the hand just gets lopped off so perfectly to the point of comedy is incredible. Also, one of the best looking parts of the game. I'm sorry I'm going on so long about this, but I'm like remembering things as I say it. The bit where you first have the kind of like, it's not a fight because she's like a persistent threat that you're trying to avoid down there. But when you go down into the basements of like the catacombs of Castle Dimitrescu, and you're walking around and you're trying to find your way, and then you realize you're wading through blood.
Yeah.
And when the enemies start to rise out of the bloods and shit like that, and just the way that Lady Dimitrescu then when she's like pursuing you, the way she occupies a room and the way she like stoops under.
Comes through the door when you go to open the door.
Fucking horrifying.
Because she comes through and then it's just the looming presence of just how big she gets as she kind of opens out.
And even her daughters as well, like the way they are animated and constructed, that like they kind of like the ones that manifest out of bugs or flies in front of you. Like, oh my God, it's so good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll take another swipe here. Okay.
So in short, fuck you.
That seems like the sentiment here. So looking, I feel like the bottom three are passion projects here. Is there that level of passion for Genesis Noir?
Yes,
Mark, you're killing me here. You're killing me.
I'm sorry. I knew it was going to happen at some point. All right, basically, take all of the energy that I had for If Found last year as best looking and now apply to Genesis Noir, right? Yeah. I do not know how the hell they made this game, right? It is like from beginning to end, no two like frames of animation, let alone scenes, seem to be the same.
It's Jazz the game.
It is, but it's not just jazz. It's
the spirit of Jazz the game, Dave.
It's cosmic noir jazz the game, right? Like one moment you're on the street, with a bunch of buildings around you, and you can kind of hear like there's just the sounds of nightlife going on with this smooth jazz playing over the background, and then next you're in fucking space where like you're walking between planets where you've got like just kind of big words showing up meaning whatever the fuck they mean, because the whole game is just one big metaphor for like the Big Bang. You go between like buildings and space, and then you're in a forest, and like it's somehow completely chaotic with all the things that it shows, but still completely cohesive.
Yeah.
Partially because I guess it's like black and white, and then there are splashes of yellow like every now and again. But there's so much imagery at all times that there's 1,000 things like that are being shown that are symbolic for something, and I have no fucking idea what it is.
I do love all the character models are so interesting looking as well.
It's like this just kind of like noir animated silent film that could have been from like the 40s or something. It's just like it is like best style for me. Right. Artful Escape probably a close second. Unfortunately, of the passion projects I have, that is the one.
I would be willing to say if Mark says it's a close second, and it's probably a close second for me, I'd probably be all right with you eliminating Artful Escape.
Yeah,
as painful as that.
Mate,
I'm looking. So we've got our four left are Genesis, Resident Evil, Returnal, and Artful Escape. Yeah. I'm looking at this. I feel like Returnal is the one I want to go to bat for, but the one I wanted to cut the least was Artful Escape.
Yeah, I agree. I think Artful Escape,
I love it. But I think it's it's Jack's winner, but I think it's everybody else's like a close second, but not your number one. So that's why I was like, I love Artful Escape, but I would much rather cut Artful Escape than Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
But I don't want to cut either. That's my 1 and 1 and 2.
But I know
we either have to cut something or we're going to the poll. With
I feel like, so I mean, using Dave's logic of who has this at 1 and who has this at 2, it feels like I'm the only person going Returnal, so I feel like I probably just have to accept that it's not going to win, to be perfectly honest. I would have Returnal win. I would have Returnal win outright. I'd be a real misery guts, and I'd have like Returnal, Resident Evil, and Artful would be like my 3, I would say.
Well, I tell you what, we should probably do this right. We should probably just kind of get a lay of the land, like what everyone's top 3 would be, because this might help us at least try and decide if we can get down to a top 3 and then try and figure out from there.
I mean, we could do this on points. Okay, so Barry, your top 3 is in order?
In order, it would be Returnal 1.
Yep.
Resident Evil 2, and then Artful Escape 3. God, if you ask me in 5 seconds' time, I might swap 2 and 3 around. That's so fucking hard.
All right, okay. So, Mark?
Genesis Noir, Artful Escape, Returnal.
Okay, so Genesis, Artful, and then Returnal. Right, Dave?
Resident Evil.
Yep.
Artful Escape, and then I don't really care.
No, pick one.
I haven't,
you bastards.
I haven't played either.
But you know what they look like.
Yeah, I mean,
like I haven't played Returnal. I know what it looks like.
Yeah, I guess Genesis Noir, especially because I've already tried to cut Returnal. It'd be a bit disingenuous if I just fucking turned heel on Genesis Noir. Now.
Fucking first time you've turned heel on me, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. So Resi Artful Genesis, yeah?
Yeah.
And then me, Jack Lazel.
Yeah, that is you.
Sex Machine.
I'm ruining my format here.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely shitting right all over it. Sorry, I thought I was doing this in my own document. I didn't realize it was you.
Yeah, especially because now I'm Dave Ryan.
I know. I'm just trying to type.
Listen, this is unofficial. No one will ever see this part.
Yeah, exactly. You know? So Artful is number 1 for me. Resi is number 2, and then Genesis Noir, just because it's. I reckon if I played it, I would love it even more. So if you're going on,
I've got to be honest. Looking at this, I don't think it helps at all.
If you're going on points, Returnal has 4 points. Resident Evil has 2, 5, 7 points right now.
Yeah.
Artful Escape has 3, 5, 8 points. And then Genesis Noir has.
So
I mean, here's the lesson. It looks to me like me and Mark will have to both take an L. Returnal.
Yeah, I feel like this is coming down to Resi and Artful Escape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So on points,
justice will prevail.
On points on our top 3s, it's Artful Escape with 8 and Resi with 7.
Yeah, so that's so close. Let's have those two and take it from here. Although I think Barry has said the way things have been going the last 2 categories, there's a fair chance we know what the people want. But look, let's see what happens.
Can we just say, by the way, before we do it, Artful Escape looks insane. Yeah. Like the way that the environment reacts to your shredding and the playing of your guitars, the way it kind of looks like something Noel Fielding would have drawn in the mid 2000s to be Mighty Boosh. It looks like a cross between like Yellow Submarine and like parts of, any sort of bleak. Who was the guy who used to paint like really bleak paintings of northern towns? Because the town you start off with really looks like it. Yeah. I've forgotten his name.
It's a psychedelic pop-up book.
Yeah,
it is. It just looks wicked, man.
It looks great. I suppose maybe what's interesting to me is like when we started this show, I thought I was going to say Artful Escape was number 1 for me. And I suppose it's because it's been so long since I played through Resident Evil Village the week it came out and beat it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's been so long since, it's like as I was cutting the promo, I was reminding myself how fucking awesome that game was.
You worked yourself into a shoot.
Yeah. So I wonder if I had played both of them that long ago, or if I'd played both of them very recently, how I would feel.
I don't know. There are still moments about Artful Escape that like between just the opening setting in this kind of like sleepy Colorado town, and like you start off on the cliff looking over and you're playing this kind of sweet gentle folk song, but then at the same time you're on a shred as well, and like that whole section, and then leading into everything that happens. Again, it's a game, kind of like you just kind of talk about Resident Evil there, where it does a lot of really kind of distinctive things and really fucking wild things, between like the whole like presentation of the Cosmic Lung being this nightclub in space, and how you can kind of go out to like the quiet areas and just look out into the stars and everything about that and how that looks, to like the final fight with Glamorgan, and just that whole like crazed crowd and everything with that, and like the fireworks and the light displays and everything.
The laser light show, by the way, the laser light show lady almost got a nomination for my best character, because I love just how fucking unimpressed she is by all of these twats with guitars. And she's just like, look, I'm a real artist. I create all of these things with like light lasers, and you're just there just wanking away at this piece of wood. Like I'm a genius and you're not.
Like I love the characters. The one critique I have of the character design is sometimes like the Simon Says boss fights, sometimes like it's actually quite hard to tell what exactly the part of their face is meant to correspond to what button I'm meant to press. But like they're so basic, those bits.
The first 1 or 2 I think, but after a while it just became second nature to me. What I didn't like was when it skipped from like a double press of one to a double press of another to a double press, and you're like, oh shit. I mean, like this is like, if I had chimpanzee like memory, maybe I could get this, but
Right. I guess then we're going to the polls.
Well, like how? Let's just we should probably go around and see now because like Genesis Noir's been taken out and Returnal's been taken out. So like let's just we should probably just go around and see what number ones are then.
Okay. So the order we went in, Mark.
Artful Escape.
Resident Evil for me. Barry.
That's a pained expression.
Resident Evil. Tip of my tongue.
That's it, pal. That's it.
I love Resident Evil, but holy shit, the Artful Escape needs it. It really does need to at least.
It needs to go to the floor.
Yeah, because fuck, it's just so beautiful. I was blown away by it.
All right, we're going to the listener poll again to save us here.
Another one this evening.
Despite on our guess as to what the poll might go. This is another one where I'm like, you know what? You flip a coin, either of what I really wouldn't. I would not care.
I mean, Dave really is a little bit cheeky because when we did the points, I still think that Artful Escape topped Resident Evil by 1 point here. And
1 point,
but we don't have an official point system either. That was unofficial, scandalous, frankly outrageous behavior to do that.
So Jack, let's not forget. Not long ago, Jack was arguing about well-established rules on this podcast about doing write-ins, and yet he's making up rules on the fucking fly.
I just thought that was how we run shit here. It's like, well, anything's possible.
The points there were clearly to try and siphon this down to like the last two, and it accomplished that. So
that's how we do on this, right? So of the remaining games, the winner with 24.1% of the poll is Resident Evil Village, as we could all have predicted.
No surprise.
But it was not the winner in the category. The winner, 34.5% was Forza Horizon.
Just to show Mark and Barry how unbelievably wrong they are about Forza.
The people
I marched the beat of my own fucking drum, all right?
If ever a truer word was spoken, Mark.